James True here. Another decode from Amu Ra Ka. Amu Ra Ka is the animized America, so it's sort of like the collective mythology of America compressed into one, and I'm just using the word Amu Ra Ka to refer to that. But that's actually not what I want to talk about. I want to discuss that no matter what we do, we will always end up expressing the exact same ideal because we are seasoned by the soil. And the message of that soil is so clearly understood when you look at Templo Mayor. The etymology of Mayor means authority, so I would like for you to consider that Templo Mayor is a religion to authority, and that the worshiping of authority gave us a bicameral temple setup in which I please look all this up, because first I won't be pronouncing it right, but secondly, you're going to be like, wow, this is amazing as far as like the synchronicity, but there's no exaggeration here. I challenge you to find where I've exaggerated these things. Also, I challenge you not to laugh as I try and pronounce some of these things. But Thalak, the rain god, the god of drought, would be the left house at the top of Templo Mayor. They were celebrating the god of anti-drought, who's expressing himself right now in global warming, or actually a more accurate way to say it is anti-global warming. So you have the one class of priest that is there bridging support among the people to bring and sacrifice to the god of drought, because drought was a bigger, more powerful god than the counterpart, which would be Xiuhtecuhtli, which is the god of war, which is the Republicans. And so the red house and the blue house of Templo Mayor have been here since ancient times. In fact, the Mississippian culture, or I should say the Iroquois Confederacy, had the same bicameral house. And of course, you know Washington, D.C. is built on a bicameral legislative branch. And that branch is the expression of Amu Ra Ka saying itself now. The war god right now is chanting terrorism, or actually anti-terrorism. And so the sacrificial victims that are brought to the Templo Mayor, the temple of authority, their hearts are gambled with between these two priests, and one of the priests who wins gets to dedicate that heart to be sacrificed to the god of war or the god of drought. And this is the base of government. Now, there's more, because the Great Seal that you see right now is the living expression of Mixcoatl, and Mixcoatl is the blind god of sustenance. Why is it blind? The idea of it being a blind god is that Mixcoatl does not know that it is or it does not become aware or is not conscious of the fact that it is harvesting and growing 400, the legend says 400 of its own children are grown specifically so that its hearts may be harvested to the god of war. And Mixcoatl himself is the red and white striped one. The paint is always expressed in these red and white stripes, and I want you to hear that ringing when you think about the Rust Belt of America, which is almost always an archetype used during political season. Of course, our flag has the red and white stripes, but even more importantly, Mixcoatl is holding the shield, and with the shield, he is painted red rust, and while clutching the arrows of war in one hand and peace in the other, he is decorated with the feathers of the eagle. But there's more. Because Coyolxauhqui is a goddess, a princess, sometimes called the Golden Bells, or bells on cheeks. She is a virgin princess, an innocent one, who is decorated with bells on her cheeks, and she is heralded or venerated, I should say, all year long by the village. And Her freedom, her liberty, is sacrificed at the base of Templo Mayor, at the base of a bicameral temple, where a party of war and a party of drought fight for control over the blood her sacrifice brings. Coyolxauhqui is the first to be sacrificed before the god of war and the god of drought can begin. So it is her sacrifice which is bound and decorated. She is broken, she is torn apart, and then she is displayed. And this is the Liberty Bell. The bells on the cheek is the Lady Liberty, which you sometimes will see as blind when it's mixed, of course, with Blind Justice or Themis. However, Coyolxauhqui is purposely dismembered because that is literally what makes the country grow or go. So therefore, you understand the red and white chanting of Mixcoatl for freedom is actually this very, very old chant to the death, the sacrificial death of Coyolxauhqui. And this is why we have the image of the Liberty Bell. It's surprisingly shaped in the same way as Coyolxauhqui, and both of them are broken on purpose. They are displayed as broken ones. And this base of Coyolxauhqui you see in the center is actually just recently dug up. It was buried in 1521 by the Spanish, but we found it again on February 21st, 1978, which means the mythology is ready to be seen again. You're ready to see the truth of what Amu Ra Ka is. It's such a larger being than we are, or I should say our ancestors were able to behold. And we're seeing that now, and it goes even further, my friends, because the Templo Mayor combines the bicameral gods of war, the Republicans, and drought, the Democrats, to worship the spirit of fire over the water, known as Coach. Oh, come on, James, you can do it. It's Xiuhtecuhtli. It's Xiuhtecuhtli. That's wrong. It's Tezcatlipoca. I'm going to say it anyway. This is the god of duality. This is the most celebrated Aztec gods of the hearth and the deity of the new fire ceremony. Do you realize that when the new fire ceremony was born, an innocent's chest was ripped open and a fire was placed in their heart, and that very fire was used to light every single new fire from every single village, because for the last 7 days they had purposely shut their fires out and were living in the dark. This figure is primal at every fire, at every meal. And how is it expressed? It is expressed with an eternal flame over the water. And so now you see what the eternal flame in DC is. It is the living spirit of Amu Ra Ka, its life, its power of the scapegoat, its power of the sacrifice to express itself and survive. All of these figures are displayed to you in stunning, stunning detail thanks to Aquarius and the Gauntlet of Corona. Welcome, my friends, to the other side. Here's a summary of what we've just covered. Mixcoatl, god of blind substance, where children's hearts are farmed for the god of war. He is red and white striped, eagle clutching the arrows of war and peace. He is served with Xiuhtecuhtli, the god of anti-terrorism, the Republicans. They are drumming up the sacrificial blood to praise to the god of anti-terrorism, and that they are competing with Thalak, the god of anti-global warming, the Democrats, and that both these people are competing for the sacrificial hearts, the purple hearts that we give our eagle warriors as we say thank you for your service, is the very same ritual in which the eagle warrior goes out and brings an innocent home so that their heart can be sacrificed to the Democrats or the Republicans. And we have this same thing happening all over again. Below these two works, the magic of Tezcatlipoca. The Witchfinder General, if you watch 787, we covered this role, this icon. The Witchfinder General has been seen as figures of Sean Penn, even working for the CIA. This is the Heyoka clown, the one that would come into the village and decide how to burn the witch for you, and that the witch itself is this living embodiment of the individual versus this machine, of Jesus Christ versus Rome, of you waking up versus you being asleep. Remind you all that Mexico City and Washington, D.C. were built on a swamp. And that swamp is for a good reason, because the python grows largest in the swamp. It requires the swamp. And the Ka is the root of the lotus, which is planted in the mud. And so Amu Ra Ka is doing just that. The Pythos, the next giant Pythos to be built that will be destroyed by Apollo when it's time for omniscience to finally shut its brilliant eye. And that time will come after Amu Ra Ka has risen and omniscience is everywhere. I tell you, this is what we know roughly as what we call the singularity, and actually what you're seeing is the moment where the snake and the tail, it's hard to tell the difference between. Where they meet the two is the top of this singularity. This is the moment when omniscience is reached, where the Lucifer, literally expressed in the very heart of the Aztec calendar, shows you that it's time to renew. Amu Ra Ka has been speaking this whole time, and it's taken us 500 years to finally hear him again. And if you don't believe me, I think the best way I can show you is with this.
Campaign live at Fiserv Forum in Milwaukee.
This decline is not inevitable. It's a choice. We need to send Joe Biden back to his basement and
women
reverse
fat broads
American decline.
and horse-faced lesbians. And no, I'm not talking about Donald Trump. I'm talking about Mayor Bloomberg.
I actually welcomed Mayor Bloomberg to the
We don't need to bring in a rookie. We don't need to bring in people without experience. We need to bring
Let us be honest as Republicans. I'm the only person on the stage who isn't bought and paid for, so I can say this. The climate change agenda is a hoax.
Let's put forward somebody who's actually a Democrat. Look.
one thing that I'm
a guy who sounds
really
like ChatGPT standing up here. And the last person in one of these debates, Brett, who stood in the middle of the stage and said, "What's a skinny guy with an odd last name doing up here?" was Barack Obama, and I'm afraid we're dealing with the same type of amateur.
no tolerance for the kind of behavior that the Me Too movement has exposed.
Not because the Republican Party tells me to be, but because my husband was adopted and I had trouble having both of my
Lots and
children.
lots
So
of
I'm
women
surrounded by
have
both.
big responsibilities. They get paid exactly the same as men.
And I hope you heard what his defense was. I've been nice to some
It will
women.
take a majority of the House. So in order to do that, let's find consensus.
To be honest with you, Nikki, you're my friend, but consensus is the opposite of leadership. When the Supreme Court returned this question to the American people, they didn't just send it to the states only.
There's agreements between two parties that wanted to keep it quiet, and that's up to them.
Don't make women feel like they have to decide on this issue when you know we don't have 60 Senate votes in the House.
70% of the American people support legislation.
Stories of women saying they have been harassed and discriminated against.
Former President Trump is convicted in a court of law, would you still support him as your party's choice? Please raise your
What a
hand.
wonderful country we have. The best-known socialist in the country happens to be a millionaire with 3 houses. What I miss here?
You believe that the criminal charges are right or wrong. The conduct
That's good.
is beneath the office of President of the United States.
I chose the Constitution.
Which tax haven?
New York City, thank you very much, and I pay all my taxes, and I'm happy to do it.
The beat goes on, doesn't it? It's never going to stop. It's Amuraka, baby. Amuraka. See you next time.